Hello, my name is Darren Thomas. I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this video, we're going to learn a little bit about for loops and also the apply, supply, and apply of for loops as well. So, there are times when we want to run a certain operation or function several times throughout a data set. If you do it by hand, of course, you will have to do everything manually. So let me give you an example. There's a data set, a default data set in R called cars. And if I just press enter, you can see you get the output right here. And so cars has two variables, speed and distance. Now, let's say I want to look at the histograms. If I want to do this manually, I would type this in all the long way. I would go histogram cars, and then I will put speed. And then if I do that, I get the first graph like so. And of course, if I want to see for distance, I will repeat this like so, and then now I have my code for distance. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, it just takes more time. There is a way to get around it, and we're first going to learn about a regular old-fashioned for loop. A for loop is, like I already mentioned, it allows you to loop through a data set to execute a specific action. So to use a for loop, of course, you use the for command, and you have to do something unique. You have to say something called I. I is the argument. This is the traditional argument, or the traditional value that we use in statistical, computer programming that I see in many places. It could be whatever you want. It could be I or D or Q or G or dog or cat, whatever. But we're just going to say I, in, and then we have to give it the name of the actual data set that we're going to use, cars. And then after you do that, you got to use the curly braces. And inside the curly braces, this is what R is going to do. So in line number 1, we're telling, okay, R, for every I in cars, do this. Now we have to tell it what to do. So we want to make a histogram. And what do we want to make a histogram of? We want to make a histogram of I. What I represents here is basically every column. So it represents speed the first time, and then it will represent distance the second time. That is what it's going to do. Now, to run this code, as you know, I press Shift, Control, Enter, and now I have my two beautiful histograms. The only disadvantage I would have to mention right now is that instead of having the name of the variable, I just have the default value here, I. So you have to know what each I refers to. That gets kind of confusing, but this is just an introductory video. So you can see here, now I should have two histograms. And you can see right there, here's the first one, speed and distance. So you can see everything is working nice and beautiful here. However, there's also a way inside R where you don't have to actually make the actual for loop code. You can just focus on using and making the histograms. So I'm going to delete my histograms here. I'm going to clear out my code for a second so that, or I'm just going to comment this out by putting the hashtag. That's what I'll do so it doesn't run again. Okay. And so this is what I'm going to do now. There are 3 commonly used functions that also serve the purpose of making for loops. The R programming language has these built in by default, and you can always use these. They're called apply, supply, and apply. So basically all I'm going to do here is I'm going to make my same histograms, but this time I'm just going to use the apply function, as you will. Let's see here. So you can see there for the apply, I use the cars. That's the name of the data set. I put the 2 in there. This is unique to the apply function. You have to put a 1 or a 2. It affects whether it's column wise or row wise, if you will. And then also you have the histogram there. So if I do this, yeah, you can see something crazy. Yeah. So that's how that works. So if you put a 2, it goes column wise. If you put a 1, it goes row wise. You don't want row wise for histograms. Now the second option, I'm going to comment that out, is the supply. So I'm just going to copy most of this and just put it down here, but I don't need that, and I need to put the supply And so then again, you have the same thing. Now notice this output down here. This is unique to the supply. It just gives you some information that you necessarily don't need. Which one of these you use kind of depends on the situation. For example, apply is often used for matrix and data frames, while supply is used for vectors and lists, if you will. And the last one, and also one more thing I want to mention is notice how the output has changed here. You have the double brackets around the I here. That is unique to the supply function. And of course, we also have the lapply. So I'm just going to go ahead and first I'll comment out on line 6 so we don't get that printed again. And then I'm going to do as so, and also I want to delete the previous plots that I have, and so we press Shift Control Enter, and you can see again we have the same information. Lapply is often used for list or whatever. You can see that the printout is a list here. As you can see right here, these are all the information for the different histograms that we just made. So now when to use which one, very, very complicated in terms of how to explain that. It really depends on the type of output you want. For lapply, you get the histograms, of course, but then you also get a list. For supply, you don't really get the list as much. You get more of a matrix, if you will. So it really depends on what your final goals are, and that's very open-ended. So in this video, we looked a little bit at for loops. First, we made a for loop the old-fashioned way using I, N plus the data set, and then we made the actual command that we wanted R to do inside the curly braces. That's lines 1 through 3 here at the top. After that, I showed you a little bit about the apply, supply, and lapply family, which is also used for making for loops, but it's kind of like an automated thing for you to do that it can be worked out quickly. So we hope that this video was useful for you, and we thank you for watching. Take care.